Thank you so much, Dr. Paris. You have done my major work. I don't have to talk about quantum field and the science behind it. And all I have to do is how do we experience it and how do we use this powerful tool to heal ourselves. So really it's exciting to share this space in this quantum field information. So my name is Saryu, and which is a name of a religious river in India. So little did I know that from my corporate world of finance and MBA in finance, and then going through a lot of stress, and that my journey would land me here like a flow of a river with all the challenges into this standing here and in the quantum field of yoga, mainly breath work and meditation. So as Rashmiji talked about, as I went through my own struggle in the corporate world, which really ended up with disease in my body, with fibromyalgia, ulcer, frozen shoulder, a lot of problems. So that really took me to seeking for answers. And then I became a life coach. And even life coach was not enough. But in spite of my becoming a life coach from International Coach Federation, I realized that many of my clients were still holding the same belief that I was. And my belief was, my whole program was, I am not good enough. And that program made me seek for more titles and more degrees and masking my own insecurities. So as Dr. Paris talked about, that we are the healers. We don't have to go outside us, and our body has all the wisdom, and we can heal ourselves. So if that is true, and we all know that our body is so powerful. We also go to the religion when we talked about that the body is a temple of God. The God resides in us. We are so powerful. We know all those words here. But yet, in spite of all that, why do we feel stuck? Why do we feel limited or struggle? So let's just talk about that. Let's talk about current physical reality, right? Our current physical reality is what? We are now hearing about pandemic. We are hearing about fear, stock market crash, illness, money issue, relationship issues, and our everyday stress. So we read a lot of self-help books. We have all the knowledge, especially in this crowd. Look at all the intellect and all the wisdom floating into this space right now. And in spite of all that, why do we feel stuck at times? So we make a goal. We make a goal. We are committed. We are committed to change, and yet the same pattern keeps on resurfacing over and over and over again. So let's take a minute and just really talk about it, that it seems like a mind has a mind of its own. So even though I make up a mind that I don't want to be angry when my son is rude, and why do I react? So the goal setting is done really by our conscious mind. The conscious mind, we set up goals. Our society, our school system, that's really gave it a very superior role, because the conscious mind is the one which makes us different. Our intellect makes us different from the animals. But really the root cause of all our reactions, everything really resides in our subconscious mind, which is a powerhouse. Why do we call it a powerhouse? Because it's a storehouse of all our thoughts, our beliefs, our emotions, that every experience, everything that happened to us from our childhood to our 6 years old. But I will go even beyond that. like Dr. Paris talked about, we also talked about our past life, or our generational beliefs, or our cultural beliefs, or actually a lot of science right now is proving that our beliefs are even installed in us while we were in mother's womb. So we are not even aware of what programs are downloaded into my DNA, into my cells. So we have got 30 trillion cells in our body, and each cell has a soul. And each cell, we talked about that energy is information. So it has all the information of everything that happened to us. So why do we store that information? And why don't we remember all that information? Imagine that if we remembered all that information of everything that happened to us, right? We have a difficult time remembering more than 5 things at a time. So can you imagine if we remembered everything that happened to us, what would my day look like? So God has really designed our machine in such a perfect way that we have stored this information, but the information is only activated when we are in danger. Because what is the main function of the subconscious mind? Main function of the subconscious mind is to keep us safe. The conscious mind gets tired after like hearing all this information. Well, as Dr. Paris was talking about all this information, my mind said, oh my God, I cannot grasp all this information. I was feeling a little overloaded because I'm not really a technocrat. But the subconscious mind works for us. 30 trillion cells, never gets tired. Even when we go to sleep, our body may go to sleep, but subconscious mind is still watching for any danger. If you were in a war and suddenly somebody hears the gun, the subconscious mind is going to wake up, like a mother gets up just listening to the sound of the baby. Who wakes them up? The subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind, as we talked about, is vigilant. Okay. So I'll give you the example now. If we know that the subconscious mind rules 95% of everything we do. So here we talk about a free choice, but here I make up my mind that, let's give an example here. Let's give a simple example. I'll give my own example. My own example is that my best friend was procrastination. Can anybody relate to procrastination? But I never procrastinated drinking my morning cup of caffeine. Because why? Because that had a lot of good emotional charge to it. So what is procrastination? Procrastination is nothing else but a conflict between our goal, which is 5%. My 5% makes a goal. I want to stay organized. And my field was finance. As we talked about, I was in the corporate world, my field was finance, and I would really keep all my files into order, right? Because I was organized, and I know it was important. And I was also teaching 7 habits of highly effective people. So I had mastered the art of looking good and keeping my office clean. Now what happens is we talked about the conscious mind is limited. What does limited? Limited means it can do only 1 to 5 things. It processes about 40,000 bits of information per second. What's in the subconscious mind? 40 million bits of information per second. So my conscious mind decided that I would be organized. I want to keep my room clean. But when it gets overloaded, when I get into stress, right? Because when suddenly I had to give a presentation, every once in 3 months in the corporate world, I had to give a presentation to the, and suddenly I would get into stress, and I was looking for all the information in my papers would be all over. So what happened? Even though I knew I had all the knowledge, I used to teach not only 7 habits of highly effective people, but I also used to teach first things first. So where did all my knowledge go? Why did I get this emotional hijack? Mainly because that the program, my conscious mind program, my knowledge, keeping all the diaries, learning about organization, it absolutely got wiped off because my beliefs that I'm not organized, I cannot complete anything I start with. I sometimes even interrupt people while they're talking. I will not be respected if my office is not clean. I'll be a failure in my life. Only people who are organized can succeed. I'll be criticized by my boss. And yes, so all these beliefs out there, I get overwhelmed by them. When I'm tired, the subconscious mind takes over. And to keep me safe, right? To keep me safe, what would I do? I would get paralyzed. I would do nothing. Okay? Because all the frustration and what would that emotion of that belief, I'm not organized, I will not be respected, I cannot complete anything. When my boss would see my messy desk, what will happen? So that beliefs, how are the beliefs get translated in our daily life? The beliefs are really expressed by emotion. So emotions are the one which create information signals, which broadcast out to the world. So what happens here is that the root cause of all my problems were not into intellectual part of 7 habits of highly effective people, but root cause of my problem was lying in that energy field. As we talked, Dr. Paris talked about, that our thought and emotion creates energy field, and we are the carriers of all this information out there. So that's where we need to clean. So how do we find out? How do we find out? Do I need to really go down? And we are storing probably billions of information, the negative programming, billions of information in our body. And that's where I was teaching people how to delete that old program at a subconscious level and install the new belief. Did it work? Yes, to some extent it works. But what happens is really, I had myself made a promise that, and I believed in all that yes, once that program is deleted, they go forever. But do they really go forever? No, because we are constantly taking in new information. So new beliefs may come back again, or our beliefs could be so big that we are even unable to erase it in all the programs. So what I'm talking about is that we don't really need to dig all that deep down. Oh my God, what beliefs are really sabotaging my success? What beliefs are stopping me from my public speaking fear? And the reason is that Dr. Paris talks about our body has all the answers. So after all that complicated journey, whether I became a certified hypnotherapist, past life regression, energy medicine, matrix energy, theta healing, now I've arrived to a simple place that our answer is in our breath work. So why do I say that? I'm going to give you an experience. So I'm just putting about 10 minutes of information, if you can bear with me. And unless, because whatever I say, don't even believe that. I'm not trying to sell you anything. And your body will only believe if you experience it. Because information, again, we talked about is 5%. Okay? We may not be able to hold all the information, but experience, even the good experience the one that stayed with us. So my intention today for you is that I want you to experience your own power of feeling. That instantly, like we talk about instant stresses, how instantly we go in the corporate world, suddenly my boss calls me up, Saryu, I want to see you at the end of the day. I could have fear about authority. Now, where does fear of authority come from? I'll give you another simple example so you can relate to. Like, say a baby is crying in the crib, and parents with a good marriage, they're both sleeping in the same room, and baby is crying, mother doesn't get up, father is tired, and suddenly the father really screams loudly at his wife, saying that, don't you realize I work all day? And it's just a small comment ends up in a fire, right? And we have all experienced our bedroom fights, right? Now the little child is only 2 years old, or maybe even 1 year old. That experience is stored as a trauma from good loving parents, experience as trauma. And then from that little trauma, he may create some belief statements, such as, my needs are never met. Or it could be fear of authority figure. Or I'll be punished by my parents if I demand too much. So imagine that my boss is calling me, and if I have one of the fear of authority, whole day I'll be tight enough, and I will get emotionally hijacked to that emotion, to the same emotion that I felt when I was 1 year old. So the point I'm really making here, our body gets addicted to the emotion that we don't even remember, because that's how our beliefs are stored in different emotions. And how do we recognize it? We don't have to dig all these emotions, but we can recognize it that by our behavior. Because as we know about that, any time we have when we get triggered by anything, like we talked about fear of authority, fear of public speaking, all that fear would invoke an emotion. So we get into fight, flight, or freeze mode. So as Rashmiji talked about it, that I went into the healing world for the last 20 years. And luckily, I don't know if my husband is listening to me, and he keeps on telling me, Saryu, you're so nice to outsider. Why do you scream at me? Why are you not a goddess that you're outsider and you become bitch when you come at home? So where was this reaction coming from? So this reaction, and that's what my signal was, that really took me more to my breath work and realizing that maybe there is still a part of me is going to that old trauma, probably generational trauma, that I'm not good enough. So his little criticism was giving me a signal, I'm not safe. The subconscious mind wants to keep us safe. So I'm just going to give you more, just bear with me for next 5 minutes, because I think this is so important. How do we recognize through our behavior that there are such that really deep healing still needs to be done? And then we'll talk more about how do we use our innate power to heal ourselves. So number one is that when we feel attack, right? So our primitive brain, our cortex brain, which is rational, which says be calm, it's okay, he still loves you, he's not trying to be critical. My rational mind will get emotionally hijacked, and then I'm operating from my primitive brain. So what is my primitive brain? First, fight. So how does fight show up? Shouting, screaming, arguing, blaming, slamming the door, throwing things, becoming unreasonable, demanding. And then how does it show up in my body? My jaws become tight, my voice become aggressive, some stomachs in my knot. So what we really do? So most of the time, like when we're in the corporate world, and so at home, at least I can scream back and I can fight. But in the corporate world, when I felt I was criticized, or maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe because I have an accent, what we do? We suppress that emotion. And all the suppressed emotion get frozen in my body. So what did I have? I had ulcer, because not in my stomach. I was constantly fighting inside rather than fighting outside. I had frozen shoulders, constant fibromyalgia. So that's one part. Now, if you can't fight, sometimes you can't fight. Sometimes the authority figure is so strong, you can't fight. So what do? You flight. So how does this show up? Like you are staying in a relationship where you are unable to fight, right? Especially like so many times the women can remember everything they say to you, and then you can never win in those arguments. So what you do, you decide that, you know what, I'm not getting into the argument, and you run away. So that's flight. How does the flight shows up? Flight shows up is that we look for distractions. So something that you're scared of, like if I'm scared of my presentation, if I'm scared of meeting my boss, so don't we say that, some people go to smoking, some people go to drinking, some people go to TV, or some people look for positive. In my case, I was looking for positive distractions, like my exercise or reading a self-help book, rather than doing what I really needed to do. Procrastination, a lot of unfinished tasks all around you. Some people use humor to hide the distractions. And how does it show up in our body? A lot of anxiety, anxious voice. You're constantly running away. And some people run away to social life, some people run away to too much exercise. As I said, in my case, I was using my exercise or good distractions. I was using, some people go to TV. So first is we talked about fight, sometimes flight, and sometimes you can't even fight or flight. You get into freeze mode. So what does freeze mode look like? Freeze mode is like you feel victimized all the time. And I hear it from my client. I'm still doing the coaching and healing work. I hear from my clients. They say they're in a situation where they feel they've got no choice, like feeling victimized all the time. So victimized means is that they are in a very bad relationship in the marriage, abusive relationship in the marriage, and they feel victimized that at my age, they're victimized for any reason, because my children, I cannot leave the marriage. Or they're victimized because they are in a job which they don't like, but it gives them good money. Or feeling victimized all the time in any situation. And you use that language. And how do we recognize this? By our words. We say we feel stuck, or we may say that I have no choice, and constantly using words of feeling victimized. We are giving our power. And how does it show in our body? Which I was going through, my fibromyalgia, my extreme fatigue, my thyroid. What was my thyroid? Because I felt speechless, I felt I had an accent, I had a public speaking fear, feeling tense, total inner critic, and mainly shows in your gut. Poor digestion, shortness of breath, skin disease, that they all show up is in the freeze mode. All right, so that we talked about. So this is where we are. So we talked about the behaviors. Now the $1 million question is, what is the topic of my day? My day is master your breath and master your life. That's a big promise I'm giving it to you, right? Master your breath, master your life. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not selling my workshop. I'm not selling you anything. What I am requesting, that all answers, that our body get healed itself. And as in my gratitude is Dr. Paris, because Dr. Paris talked about that we are energetic being, and we are part of this invisible space. We call it quantum field, where everything is possible. Everything is possible. So that is true. Everything is possible. Saryu, can you tell us? I want good health. I want to be successful. I want bliss. I want joy. I want happiness. Can you give us that? Yes. The answer is yes. And why do I say it so confidently? I'm going to be turned 80 in January, and I have cured all my physical illness. I'm not taking a single medication. I've cured all my physical illness, including my shoulder pain at age of 75. I became a yoga instructor because I realized I gave up my career. I gave up my teaching workshops because I realized that when I was teaching workshops and promising past life regression and talked about that all these healing modalities going to cure them, sometimes those things came back. And that took me to my yoga journey. That I call the Saryu River has arrived to its ocean. I'm not totally submerged there. I have a lot to learn. And because I'm told that if I learn everything, I'm totally going to the bliss world, then I'll get nirvana. I'm going to the other side. But I still love my five senses. I love life. I love beautiful things in life. So I think I'm not ready for nirvana. I'm still going to enjoy all my five senses and be with people like you, because we are really in a cutting edge of information. And now I'm so grateful today to be here, especially to Rashmiji, who is really, we are really today, all of us are leaders. We are part of this powerful world of healing. We don't need to go anywhere, because now we are merging this quantum physics science and our ancient Eastern wisdom, the simplification processes. That how, if that is true, how do I reach to that quantum field where everything is possible while I still have this body, while I'm holding all this negative belief. I was worried today about what color do I wear? What should I say? I still went into nervousness. So all this I'm still holding. So can I really achieve that in spite of my everyday stress? So that's what we are going to experience today. So let's just talk about power of breath. So let's sit comfortably. So first thing is inner smile, because subconscious mind does not know the difference between reality and imagination. So as soon as you smile, the subconscious mind thinks, wow, my danger is over. So we are activating our parasympathetic system, automatic system, where say everything is safe. And now Saryu is going to give us some fun. So let's give all an inner smile to all of us, including ourselves here. So this inner smile. So inner smile, where do we hold our tension? In our jaws. So I'm going to say, and where does our mind get blocked with all this information, the news, the TV, the pandemic, the fear? So why do we say we gently close our eyes? We want to get rid of all the outside noise. So if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes, but you don't have to close your eyes, okay? The subconscious mind does not know. I'm going to tell you one thing. I'm an information junkie also. So even if I keep on saying it, I may add one more gem. So why this technique is so important is because God has given us something very, very unique. It is even angels, because we are even more powerful than angels. You know why? Angels cannot enjoy sex and the good food and the my good drink and the cheesecake and my mithai. Human beings have all these five senses. So with that five senses, we can visualize, we can imagine, we can bring even yesterday to present and now. And the subconscious mind only operates in the present. So anything that happened to us years ago, joyful memory, I can bring it now and instantly transform don't know where it's coming from. I don't need to know. So one thing is that our superconscious mind. So now I'm bringing a third mind. Up till now I was talking about conscious mind and the subconscious mind. You all got that part. Emotion creates disease, emotion creates constriction. We got all that part. Now we are talking about how to get rid of it in a simple, easy, effective manner. And there's a lot of science behind it. And I'm not going to go into science, because I don't even know how to explain science. I'm a very simple person. Teach me the tools and not the science. So the first thing is that because the subconscious mind does not know the difference between reality and imagination, we are going to use that technique to get instantly transformed from stress to peace. And you're going to experience that. And second thing is that, and one more thing, Dr. Paris talked about that experiment about the pyramid. So this is my explanation. He said, why didn't that physical pyramid did not work and that focused energy of the intention worked? So one thing is intention. I'm just making my own wisdom that what happens here, the pyramid is a physical reality of pyramid. Lot of people enter in the pyramid and we don't know where what type of absolutely focused energy was in the pyramid. Because I could have gone into pyramid and I had my own fear enter the pyramid, or my other emotions, but greed, anxiety, whatever it is, that particular day, I didn't look nice, whatever has come up. We don't know exactly what was in the physical reality. Why? You are the healer. You can put that focused energy from your 30 trillion cells, that focused energy using the 5 senses about what does it look like, what does it taste like, what does it feel like, and you send that focused energy to anything. You can even create chemicals in your mind. I've stopped taking supplements. And because I also have done a lot of dowsing in other work. If my body is that powerful, can I intentionally, what we call that, homeopathy, the pepper remedy, is an intense focused energy. What did Dr. Paris talk about? We are energetic being, so we have information. So can my focused energy bring that, create the chemicals? Now, why do I go? Dr. Paris talked about the machine. Why do I use that machine rather than me manufacturing it? Because we don't believe in our own power. So if we can stay in the vibration of joy, love, and gratitude every day, moment by moment, every day, moment by moment. So I'm not saying that as human beings, you cannot go into anxiety and fear, but if you do not let it hold in your body a long time, it's like food. Why do we take intermittent fasting? What we can do is that first is awareness, and awareness we are going to get by our behavior. So when now I get angry or when I'm procrastinating, I'm fully aware because now I'm listening to my body and heart. So we are going to talk about how do you bring awareness. So step number 1 is awareness. That's all we need to know. Step number 2, all we need to know that my body is not flowing completely. So how do we know? Every thought creates an energy. So all we need to know is that particular thought creating constrictions or creating expansion. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I feel like killing my husband when I watch him eating potato chips late at night while I'm all into healthy food and I don't vibration of the news. I want to kill him. So I know my body is getting constrictive. Sometimes I need to use physical body to do expansion. So that's where my yoga posture comes up. Because yoga posture, we got 72,000 energy channels. So I immediately realize that I'm tired right now. So I immediately realize all I need to do is stretch and open up my heart and stretch. Or I do sometimes an hour of yoga and open up all my, depending how tired I'm, open up. So yoga asana is also very good because physically, they say issues are in our tissue. So yoga really opens up our energy channels. Is there any doubt? No. I'm telling you, like about 3 weeks ago, I almost got a symptom of heart attack. I was very sick. I was in the hospital. The doctor said, don't do any exercise. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. And yes, was it a wake-up call? Yes, it was a wake-up call, because I always made a contract with universe that I want to die of heart attack. Because in my family, everybody, my father, my sister, everybody's died of heart attack. So I said, I want to die in my sleep. So I literally had a conversation with the superconscious mind. Oh my God, my home is not done. My papers are not done. I have a lot of unfinished business. And I kept on putting prana energy throughout my body. By the time I was taken to the emergency hospital, but I knew deep down that my focused energy, at that time, I had no other intention but to heal every cell of my body, my heart, brought all the love energy, anything, it brought into my body. And then after that, I had fatigue syndrome. So, all I did was, I didn't do heavy physical exercises, but I started doing my yoga, because it does open up your energy channels. And when you suppress emotion, just another words of wisdom, suppress emotions really get frozen in our body. For example, your backache. Backache is all about not feeling supported, and you have a backache issue. So at that time, I do my bridge pose, I do my yoga, but physical asana by itself doesn't heal. Okay, then you become good physically, but it doesn't totally heal. Healing happens by intention, by the focused energy coming, the prana, the life force. So I'm very intentional, even when I do a simple yoga posture. Like, I sometimes don't even do complicated yoga postures. It's not how complicated the process is. I can only doing my simple thing, like opening up my heart when I'm upset, opening my heart and allow the prana energy to go in every cell of my body. I do my simple bridge pose when my stomach, my back seems tight, when I feel, oh my God, anything happens. I may be angry. Sometimes my children live nearby, and I get sometimes upset and angry if they don't have time for me. So I immediately realize there's some issue happening in my back. So when you do that bridge pose with the intention, the prana energy goes into that posture. That's where the healing happens. So if you do the physical part of asanas, it has benefit. But when you really do the prana, the life force energy with the focused intention, like he talked about the pyramid, the virtual part of it, the pyramid, because this is open space. He talked about quantum phase.
I mean to say, being conscious of what you're doing.
Not the conscious, bringing the consciousness,
Yeah.
totally trusting that divine power. Because we talked about what happens to the brain when we are under stress, right? So I was under stress because I was sick and my children were too busy to hand over the food to me. And part of me immediately get into that feeling of rejection. It's a small one. So immediately, the small, tiny little bit of anger, irritation comes up. So the bridge pose, or whether it's even simple breathing with intention. Because what happens when you're in a stress, right? We got right and left hemisphere. The left hemisphere is logical, my logical mindset. How can they be so busy? Mom does all the cooking for them. I'm always run and support my grandchildren. Can't they just come and do so and so? So it got emotionally hijacked, correct? So it's the right hemisphere. Our energetic signals are sent by our right signal. So that is why emotion, the seat of the soul, and Dr. Paris talk about soul and the mind. My mind is information, but it's a soul, which we can only go to that prana shakti for the higher souls, the quantum field, through my energetic signal. So my energetic signal now can be go to the universe and say, you know what? I've got spiritual daughters. We always trusted anybody. I really even didn't need the food. And surely miracles started happening. So as soon as you go there, and that's one of my belief is that I live in the world of magic and miracles. With this, the quantum field. So trust the universe, okay? Because the right and left hemisphere, when we are under stress, there is a corpus callosum between the right and left hemisphere. So even though I knew all the information, count to 10, My children are so busy. My daughter is adopted her 5-year-old daughter, and she was telling me what she is going through. It's the right hemisphere. And again, we talked about our first speaker, Dr. Anilji. He talked about oneness, love energy. The left hemisphere information creates separation. So we are human being, what we are. So that's why when we go into flight mode, separation, because our beliefs, it creates heart attack, it creates blockages, separation. So the corpus callosum is sort of being breached, it becomes a barricade. And as Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about, we become half intelligent. So have you ever thought about it, that before you memorize your whole talk and you go in the front and you don't even remember exactly what you're going to talk? Ask me, because I suffered from public speaking fear as a financial controller of the World Wealth Division. And literally, this is real story, that I would literally get physically sick when I had to perform in front of people. And you can relate to all that.